Hello and welcome to Cinema Craptaculus, where we say a bad movie is just as hard to make as a good one, just a lot easier to make fun of. This is Dave, and with me are my uncrappy co-hosts,
Adam
and John. It's a bring your daughter to work revenge flick starring Jason Momoa. We sat through the Netflix original movie Sweet Girl. Here's the rapid recap to catch you up.
Rapid recap!
It's The Fugitive meets Taken meets the ripped from the headlines greed of pharmaceutical companies with a pinch of political corruption thrown in. Momoa plays Ray Cooper, a Pittsburgh survival expert, but his expertise doesn't help his wife as she succumbs to a rare form of cancer. When a revolutionary drug that could save her is pulled from the market, Ray publicly promises Simon, the CEO of the retched medical company, that he'll have his revenge. And for kicks, he'll bring along his daughter Rachel, played by Isabela Merced. This sets off a series of chases as the FBI, a hired hitman, and a rising body count all hurtle to the most unexpected twist ever, featuring one lonely and angry sweet girl.
guys, they spent a lot of money on this movie.
They really did.
I mean, just looking at the production value, it looked like a theatrical.
Yeah. Well, you gotta figure, A, it was shot in Pittsburgh, so they had to tranquilize all the Pittsburghians with enough beer and cheesesteaks so that the filming of the movie could happen without people getting
Wait. First of all, I'm from Pittsburgh, and I loved the fact that this was filmed in Pittsburgh. Second, we're not known for cheesesteaks. That's Philadelphia.
Oh.
So get your Pennsylvania facts
You
right.
know
I'm
what's
sorry.
hard about watching this movie is that I didn't pick up right away it was Pittsburgh. So like every film I watch, especially stuff made on Netflix, I'm immediately thinking like, I wonder how they're dressing Atlanta. And then it's
Right.
Vancouver. and then it's like, maybe New York, Chicago, or LA. And so I'm racking my brain and going, where is it supposed to be set and where did they shoot it? And it took me, I don't know, 30 minutes in before I figured out it was Philadelphia or
and
Pittsburgh.
I think,
Excuse me.
And I actually think the directors realized that too, which is why the end of the movie is set with a bunch of Steelers fans walking around, like leaving Heinz Stadium. They're like, "Oh, we have to make people realize this is Pittsburgh. We're not getting our tax
it might
break."
have been the tax incentives like a requirement. Like, and
Exactly,
just so you know,
right.
we need you guys to highlight the city and its lovely surroundings. So this was billed as a Jason Momoa, action film along the lines of Taken, right? If we saw the trailer, that's kind of, it's Taken with Jason Momoa, right?
Sure. Yep.
In hospitals, yes.
Yeah.
Hospitals. With a little bit of whatever that movie that Mark Ruffalo did, with a little bit of Michael Clayton thrown in. But so I was expecting out and out action, like, oh, he's probably a former, Navy SEAL or something. No, he just kickboxes a lot, right?
Well, that's just it.
That's the thing I didn't get was, what did he do? I never once really. It wasn't until I was researching for the rapid recap and saw that he was a survival expert on IMDb. I had no idea. He just seemed like some poor guy.
Right, well, that's
who
just
lived
it.
in the.
They talked about how his wife is dying of a bladder cancer, I guess is the type of cancer it was. I think it was bladder cancer. Regardless, and he's like, I'm working all these double shifts. But the only thing you ever see him do is hitting a heavy bag at a gym. So I guess his job is punching, and he's doing a lot of punching to pay
You don't
for all this
understand.
hospital time.
My second job is being badass. Maybe he's a punching bag tester.
You know what?
Yes.
And they
You
just
know
have
what?
a non-stop supply of bags. He has to constantly. This one's okay. It's like assembly line. It's quality check.
Yes.
So they start out the film and it's narration, and I'm like, oh man, are we gonna hear him do narration? Because it's like he's not really a thespian for linguistics like a lot of these guys. But I was willing
He's
to
not
go.
a talker.
But he's charming, and the wife and other women probably are waiting for him to take his shirt off, and he's got that going for him.
I thought they started with his VO, which was really weird to me because as soon as I heard it, I was like, and I'll say this right now, giant spoiler alert. If you're interested in seeing this movie and have not seen it yet, go watch it first. Otherwise, we're going to ruin some big things.
Yep.
I think we're gonna just ruin everything.
I think they already ruined it,
Yeah.
and we're just coming along and cleaning up the
We're
mess.
gonna ruin it, but they ruined it.
They start off with the VO, which felt so kind of dreamy, and I was like, "Is he already dead? What is going on?" Because it was monotone to the level of Harrison Ford in Blade Runner.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then we start near the end of the movie, and he jumps off off this the edge of Heinz Field and into the water, which I don't think is possible, but whatever. And then you flash back. And this movie loves the flashback because I felt like we flashed back like 9 times.
We were in
Flashback.
Inception territory here. We were kind of going to the dream within the dream and waiting for, old Leo to show up,
Yeah, something that really frustrated me about, well, basically the entire setup for this film is, and you know what? Jason Momoa is the next Arnold Schwarzenegger, the next Stallone. I think we can all agree that, like, that is his bread and butter, The Rock. You know what I mean? Like, he is a massive dude doing massive dude things, and good for him because we need those guys in cinema. Now, what filmmakers have always done when they get these monsters on screen is they humanize them. They usually give them, like, a small child, or they give them, a loving partner, or, a dog, or something like that to humanize them. But what I used to love about the old Schwarzenegger and Stallone movies is there was always, like, a bit of tongue-in-cheek in it. Like, do you guys remember in Commando how that movie opens? Yeah, it's so you've got Arnold Schwarzenegger carrying a log through a giant tree through the forest on his shoulder, and then he's feeding a deer with Alyssa Milano. He's like hand feeding a deer with Alyssa Milano. And so there's like kind of this tongue-in-cheekness about it. And what it does is it gets us like, okay, we get it. He's a family man. He's a good guy. He's not a monster. And it doesn't require them to do too much acting. But unfortunately, the way that they decided to do this with Jason Momoa is like they gave him a dying wife where he had to have like an emotional breakdown scene in the hospital. And then they gave him like, I'm going to be a parent, like conversational scenes. And they didn't make him, but at the same time, they didn't expound upon his character at all. So he's just a monster who's trying to act. That's it. Like that.
Well, and when he's in the hospital, and I just want to talk a little bit about that moment when he shows grief. It's almost like they really want to convince us of Momoa's acting skills, so they kind of milk the grief. I thought he was going to start tearing apart the hallway, which I would have like kind of been curious to see him do, just rip off the railings and attack some candy striper. But I mean, it's almost like they needed to go overboard into a place where I was getting a little uncomfortable to show like, no, Momoa's going, he's digging in, man. He's getting into that. Yeah. And to your point, in another era, or even just like maybe with another actor, they would have acknowledged the grief. And I felt like they kind of did that a little bit with Batista in our previously reviewed zombie flick, where it's like we need to show the meathead can act or convince you that his character is real.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting that you call him a monster because throughout the whole movie, he really is a monster. I mean, he murders people.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know how many times he says, I had to do it. It was self-defense. And I was like, first of all, you publicly threaten a CEO on television. The CEO's on the news, and somehow Jason Momoa's character gets through. Ray Cooper gets through to the news, and he's like, I'm going to kill you if my wife dies because you pulled this medicine from the market.
Well, and it's a smarmy Justin Bertha, and it was good to see him do that role because he really channeled his inner Bradley Whitford.
I felt so bad. I felt so bad for Justin. He just got off that roof in Vegas. He found his friends. Yeah. He got married. He took over as the CEO, and now Jason Momoa is threatening him on TV. That's just really hard, man. Like, he's had a hard go of it in these last couple of weeks.
Right. And, it's funny because basically, we're supposed to sort of see the setup, and there's got to be red herrings along the way because it can't just be, the bad guy because he gets offed. He gets offed.
Yeah, at the halfway
point. Before he gets offed, I will say I love that fight scene because he gets hit punched in the junk. It's like I love those moments because that's kind of, they put that in there for humor. I'm sorry, and I wish it needed again. This movie needed more humor. To your point about Schwarzenegger, you need those breaks because we're either in bloodlust mode or we're in like this is a serious drama about pharmaceutical companies, which you can't have it both ways, and they wanted to. They wanted sort of that Michael Clayton drama. I kept waiting for Tilda Swinton and George Clooney to have a scene together, but they wanted it to be action packed, but also be a family psychological drama.
Well, and the thing for me too is there's a lot of those moments where you're like, well, you're supposed to be as the audience being like, wait a minute, well, what's going on? Who's behind all this? And what's their purposes for it? But at the end of the day, it just came down to, money. That's it. Like it was just, money. And then like, this person has money. money, and they want more money, so money. And like that was the total amount of thought that went into the concept behind this script.
There was a little bit of power ultimately along with the money, but we'll get to that sort of like reveal at the end. But Dave, we should really talk about what you mentioned, the spoiling everything, because obviously there's literally a spoiler that sort of maybe explains perhaps how they choreographed all those fights and the monstrosity, as Adam mentioned.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
I just the turn in the movie, the twist in the movie is you find out with 30 minutes left, you find out that the whole time it's been the daughter, that she is actually has a split personality and believes she is Jason Momoa and herself, and that she's been doing all this killing. And Jason Momoa died 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Was it 2 years
Yeah,
ago
the subway.
or 6
The
months
first
ago, something
assassin
like
attack,
that?
which we never really followed up on, and now we realize that it wasn't him trying to track down all of the threads, complete with your standard wall with little thread spider, what are they? Research with
Yarn.
photos like yeah.
I just want to touch upon one thing because you brought that up. So in their house or apartment, there's a giant wall with all these articles on it in the string and all this because they're trying to figure something out. And the conspiracy is never clear to me. And the FBI goes to the house and they're looking around. They're like, well, I don't know what's going on. And then they see the wall, which is the biggest wall in the room. And it has all, it should have been the very first thing they saw. It would be like walking into a room with a giant neon light flashing. And you're like, I wonder where that light is. I wonder if there's any evidence of a light. And then they see it and they're like, oh, this means something.
And can we talk about those investigators? Because first of all, this all started because the murder of a CEO of a major pharmaceutical company, and I think he was sort of patterned after whoever that pharma bro douchebag that drove up that's probably the inspiration. But still, it would be not quite as big as Elon Musk or Zuckerberg, but it's still a very prominent CEO. There would be more than just like one woman and one guy on the case. I mean, especially with multiple bodies piling up. Yeah, maybe they're hired assassins along the way, but there's still just two detectives.
Right. And that never leave the office, by the way. That never leave
FBI
the office.
Task force. There'd be... Yeah, it's like, a CEO got like offed, and we're pretty sure we know who it is. There'd be a bit of a manhunt. That's, I think, what this movie really was missing was that fugitive level of manhood.
Yes.
Manhunt, where you had,
and manhood.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there'd be like one guy or girl in the mold of Tommy Lee Jones or something. Our fugitive's name is Dr. Richard Kemp,
Yeah.
Right.
And there was two people kind of quietly going about their job, asking folks questions.
Very passively.
I feel like they were just Googling. They're like, CEO.
Yeah.
Nope, that's not it. Let's see. Pharmaceutical. Nope, that's not it. Oh, the girl called me. Hold on. Google her name.
Yeah.
Hey there, we'll be right back.
Hey, this is Dave. We just want to take a moment to recognize that systematic racism exists, and one of the best ways to overcome it is by amplifying the voices that need to be heard. To continue that mission, every month we'll share a podcast or charity to support. This month, we're supporting Black Table Arts, whose mission is to gather Black communities through the arts toward better Black futures. You can find more information and donate at blacktablearts.com.
And now, back to the show.
The girl is Isabela Merced, and I'm sorry, John, you studied French. How do you say the name?
Well, her name is Isabela Merced.
Merced. Sorry.
So,
Isabela Merced. It's fine. I believe you. And I'm sitting here and I'm watching this movie and I'm like, where do I know that girl from? Because she's not particularly great in this movie, but I'm going, why do I know her? It's because she was Dora in the live action remake of Dora the Explorer, which, if you have not watched that film, I highly recommend it. It's actually a lot of fun.
I agree.
It's a lot of fun.
I got a bit of a young Elijah Duke shoe vibe out of her. Did you guys get that?
Sure. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah.
Well, they're setting her up as sort of the victim being dragged along by this father in grief and homicidal rage. And so I think, okay, that's interesting. He's an irresponsible parent because he is dragging her along. And they sort of, they're really just pulling us along for the pull the carpet out when they give us the Fight Club Tyler Durden moment. And in doing so, it's her talking to the one investigator, and then she's the one that sort of pulls her out of it where we're made, to Dave's point, 30 minutes from the end. And then there's that little bit of disappointment. I don't know if you guys felt it. We're like, oh, so no more Momoa.
Well, yeah, I kind of, my feeling at that point when they finally reveal, because the FBI agent lady is like, I forget the character's name. It's Rachel. She's like, Rachel, say your name, Rachel. Who are you? Who are you? And finally she goes, and it's Jason Momoa portraying this. He goes, I'm Rachel. And she's like, come back to us. And then she jumps off the edge of the thing. And I'm like, oh, this movie just started. We're an hour and 45 minutes in, and the movie finally started.
You know, that was a really big... So that reveal, I did not see that reveal coming. I'll be the first to say I did not see it coming.
No, it was pretty good. I'll agree.
I don't care that it happened.
Yeah.
But what it did do for me was justify a lot of things that I had seen throughout the movie. For instance, there are moments when the Simon character, who's the CEO, he's at a fundraiser, right? And we're seeing Jason Momoa dressed up as like monster Jason Momoa in his like outdoorsy jacket and baseball cap, has to sneak into the gala, you know, with all these billionaires. And Jason Momoa proceeds to, without anyone stopping him, walk into the service entrance, look around backstage, find a caterer's uniform rack, take a caterer's uniform off of that rack. Somehow it fits Jason Momoa. He then puts it on and like casually starts like walking around the party with a drink thing until he sees Simon and then corners Simon and beats the crap out of him. But that whole time I'm like, why aren't they calling the police? Look at that man.
Yes.
If that man walked into anywhere to do anything, I don't care how nondescript he's trying to be, everyone would stop and look at him. Everyone would be like, oh.
We should qualify that this girl was not just sort of some young doe who happened to have the skills to take down multiple assassins. You know, they showed her part of her grieving process was that she was in that same boxing ring practicing, and her sparring partner who looks
she took over the job of punching bags.
Yeah. Well, and the people at the boxing ring became the punching bags, and they all look like MMA fighters, but somehow this, what is she supposed to be, 16-year-old girl can make this guy tap out. And so they already planted that, okay, she's a badass, which I just assume will come in handy when she has to take. It never would have occurred to me that she was actually basically able to take on trained, hired assassins and gunmen, which she does repeatedly with us thinking it's Momoa. And then we get the reveal and find out it was her all along.
I think it's interesting because the Jason Momoa is such a big star that when you put his name out there, immediately the movie is about him. But the movie is really about her. And I there might be that's where the disconnect is because they focus so much on Jason Momoa because he's such a big name that you don't have the story that should lead the audience to the conclusion that it was Rachel all the time. Much like in The Sixth Sense, if you rewatch it, you go, oh, there's all these times where they're saying this is what happened, and you just don't see it. But in this, they never like kind of tease that she is a split personality like Tyler from Fight Club.
I think they're scared to do that because I don't think they've crafted a story that holds up. And honestly, I think they kind of assume that their audience watching a Jason Momoa Netflix is just not going to be as sophisticated, and so they really don't want to tip their hand, to be honest. But can we talk a little bit about the assassins, particularly the lead assassin? And it's almost like they wanted him to kind of have his own little backstory. So we have this this moment in this coffee shop after he's and again it starts, he's talking to Momoa, but then we realize he was talking to Rachel, and it's that moment where it's basically De Niro and Pacino. It's like
but it's between you and making some poor bastard a widow, brother, you're going down.
I mean, it's that coffee shop really ripped right out of there, and they basically both set aside. I kept waiting, like if he really was serious, he could just like shiver or shiv him, you know what I mean? But nope, they're gonna talk like gentlemen, although we know it's a teenager. And basically the agreement is, I could kill you now and I'll get paid and be done with this job, but just because I'm a sport, I'm gonna give you a fighting chance to go try to get some answers. I'll give you an answer as to who hired me, and then I'm gonna wait until you're and make it more of a pain in the ass for myself to find you, and maybe have to kill you publicly and risk my own life, but I'm gonna just do that. It made no sense. What assassin assassin would do that? I guess
A
it's
bad
because it's
one.
a teenage girl.
Yeah, he took her under his wing, but in the scene you see Jason Momoa talking to him,
Right.
so you don't know that as an audience member that and it's one of those things. It was one of those opportunities to highlight the fact that there's that difference there, that's an awkward moment, and that you should have seen something coming because of that moment. Because basically this guy's like taking Jason Momoa under his Jason Momoa, is that his name? Taking him under his wings, like, don't worry, man, I had to murder people too. And I could just go on and on about this and ramble, and I'm just rambling now.
So was this story, Dave.
This is what this movie did to me. It made me a rambling mess because I could not follow anything
But
in
once
it.
we know
Yeah.
it's her, and now we're following her being Jason Bourne, and we're supposed to assume that she's got all these
Jason Reborn.
Jason Momoa Born, that she's now able to, she's taken down assassins. We know that dad was killed and she's been kind of living on her own. Child services never bothered to take over. Maybe she's 18 now, I guess. I don't know. And, she's able to use credit cards, and I guess she's got a burner phone because they would have tracked that a while ago. And she goes back to Dave's hometown where all of the locals have been tranked with beer and pretzels.
And football.
And then it's like it takes forever to, and then it's like now our brain knows who the real bad guy is. It's like, oh well, obviously there's only
I don't know who was the
it was
real
Amy
bad
Brenneman.
guy.
She was the senator.
It was the senator.
She posited
Yeah.
herself as this hero at the beginning, going after the CEO on CNN or whatever when Momoa calls in. So,
Yeah.
but once we knew that as soon as he was offed, I knew like, oh, that must mean she's the bad guy.
Yeah, but see,
Yeah.
here's the thing for me. What I didn't fully wrap my head around is, so all of this has been going on for at least 2 years, right? Like at least, probably more than that, because the whole movie starts with a wife has cancer, wife dies of cancer, and then this reporter comes out of the woodwork, goes to Jason Momoa when he's actually Jason Momoa, and says, hey, I've been working on this story for a long time. And I go, okay, so that means this congresswoman, because she's not a senator yet, remember, she's just a congresswoman. She's been a congresswoman running this international drug company, from the shadows for at least a year already, then 2 more years. So 3 years, and she's just been kind of biding her time as a congresswoman. Like, none of that made any sense to me, right? And she's like, now is the time where I'm going to run for Senate. I'm like, why now? Why not before? Like, none of this makes sense. And she's not living in abject squalor or anything, the congresswoman, but like, if she's making cajillions of pharmaceutical dollars, like, why doesn't she have a whole team of assassins protecting her all the time? Why isn't she being driven around in like, armor protected SUVs and all that crap? I don't know. None of it made sense.
I think the fatal flaw of the plot is that on one hand, it's supposed to be that there's a conspiracy, and that's why the protagonist would get shot at. That's usually it. They have access to information, and and in The Fugitive, which is kind of what this is based on, in the course of trying to, the brilliance of that movie is they were able to juggle the plot of an innocent man trying to prove his innocence, but at the same time knowing that someone killed my wife, and in finding why and who killed her, I'll also clear my name. So I'm solving 2 major plot obstacles at once. This tries to do that by suggesting that there's a conspiracy, but in reality, it was
money.
But it could, right? It was just because money, bags of money. But I mean, once he was killed, that should have been the end of it, and there was no reason for him to have been killed other than, okay, they know that this reporter is going to spill the beans, so somehow he's going to be dispatched by the assassin. Momoa's there. He gets killed, we find out, because he didn't really live. But then it should have ended. So but if we don't know that the girl is trying to clear her father of any murders that she committed, it becomes very clear what is her motivation now. She's on the run because she's the one that did it. All she had to do is turn herself in, but then that would have ruined what the filmmakers wanted, which is this clever reveal. I'm not really explaining why the absurdity is absurd, but it is absurd. Trust me.
That's what the movie does to you.
Right.
It makes you like try to figure things out to the point where you're the one who sounds crazy, and it's the movie that is fucking crazy.
My favorite part is at the end where, so now there's a national manhunt going on for Isabela because she's killed the assassin and the congresswoman in the state house. And what she does to flee, because she gets away, is she goes into a bathroom, she puts on some makeup to cover up some bruises,
Yes.
straightens her hair. She doesn't even straighten her hair. She like brushes her hair and then proceeds to very easily get on a plane and fly away to who knows
They
where.
want their dragon girl with the dragon tattoo moment where she turns
Right,
into Lisbeth.
which is fine, but then you know what? Have her put on a wig, you know? Give her a
Yeah,
fake
yeah.
mustache or a monocle or something.
Yeah.
But they were just like,
Have her
I'm
Kaiser
sitting there going,
Soze with a
Blacking
limp.
out a tooth.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, give me a Kaiser Soze. But they don't. They're just like, no one will notice this exceptionally attractive 18-year-old traveling alone. Like, it's like, what the hell are you talking
Yeah,
about?
and she has this exit strategy at the end where she flies off to Europe and we hear the narration of her dad and she's kind of like she's in a good place.
Right.
Like, where did she get the money to do this? Again, Jason Bourne would have had multiple passports and
Accounts and
in,
stuff.
in Berlin and
And gold bricks
right,
inside of
exactly.
library books. down at-
like Bruce Wayne, he's with Anne Hathaway in the middle of Paris. But no, she's got it all
Yeah.
planned out. But she was literally living on the streets and walking around with the homeless
Well,
clothes,
Yeah.
And she didn't
What's
kill the
also
congressman,
crazy-
by the way. She held the knife up, but then got it all on tape. Just got her
Yeah.
to confess.
I'm sorry.
which,
You're right.
Which,
yeah.
of course, is going to hold up in court.
yeah.
Especially with the
because
assassin.
anytime you get a confession with a knife up to someone's neck, it's like slam dunk, case closed.
We got her.
As I watch these movies, they become tougher to pull off because there are cameras everywhere. You can't
Right.
Yes.
pull off. It's like watching spy movies now. It's like there's no way. James Bond is the one with the monocle and the limp and the fake mustache because there's no way he would go anywhere. But the assassination of the assassin I thought was particularly brutal because not only she stabs him underwater after sort of a fake death where she drowns, but then she hears Daddy saying, "Get up, get off the mat." So she gets up.
Wait. Can we just mention that she jumps into the river and they pull her out and she's all groggy and stuff, but she gets revived. And then the assassin tries to drown her in this fountain and she does her last gasp. And then her dad's like, "Get up, you gotta get up." And she's like, "Ah!" and gets back up. Jason Momoa is also Aquaman.
Oh.
I
Or
said she was going to
is
live
this
because she's got
Aquaman's
gills.
daughter?
Daddy's got passed on.
Yeah,
gills.
that's what I think. That's
But
what
it
I
was
think.
a
I
weird,
think this is
gruesome
a whole
death. Like
backdoor sequel to Aquaman.
I think it is, and just as bad. But they showed like the assassin floating in the fountain in this blood soup. It's like they had to linger on that moment, and it just felt weird, especially when it's like this underage minor who just took out a guy by stabbing him multiple times.
You know
I don't
what
know
I would
what
have
kind of-
loved? Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have loved now, and I understand this might have given away the twist, but I just would have loved if some of these characters interacted with Jason Momoa like he was a beautiful 18-year-old girl. Like, and Jason Momoa was just like, "What's wrong with you?" And he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" Like,
Or if he- yeah,
aren't
if he
you? Yeah.
Why are you patting me on my butt?
Yeah, exactly. Aren't you a pretty little thing? It's like-
Or like if
Well, that's
he's ordering
that's
food
the
and he
scene
goes,
with the
"Poo."
assassin in the diner. That's what it should have been.
Right.
He should have been like treating Jason Momoa like an 18-year-old
And
girl.
Jason
Right.
Momoa should have had like in front of him like a cheeseburger and like a milkshake, something that like that's kind of
Yeah,
odd.
and always on Instagram.
Yeah. Or, I just love the idea of
He
that
should have been
assassin just kind of
constantly-
just kind of like he either being lascivious, so he's like checking out Jason Momoa, or he's trying to be like kind of comforting because it's a little girl, so he's like, "Oh,
Yes.
it's okay, Jason Momoa." Like, be really be like all quasi offensive, which would be another interesting spin on it if this girl kind of devolved into her father because she couldn't take being treated like an 18-year-old pretty girl while she's trying to that would be a really interesting commentary on the
Again,
patriarchy.
Yes.
I think this film is falling into a trend, and I think we saw a bit of it with Promising Young Woman, sort of the young female vengeance flick.
Sure.
And I think that honestly, I think the title is Sweet Girl, and
Yeah.
I think that might be something that we're going to see more of. And I think this was just somebody probably felt like the only way I'm going to be able to make this movie is if I make it about a big star. And honestly, it could have been a female lead as the mom, as somebody like a Charlize Theron who's kicking butt, and they could have done the exact same story. I think, but there is an interesting dynamic I think with father and daughter, and especially because when we see the scenes, we know she was, I guess, talking to herself or imagining her father there.
Yes.
There is that sort of I think it works better because a father saying, "I told you to
stay in the car.
That's what she's imagining she would hear, and that she needed that mean father figure in her life to prevent her from doing this stuff. And so I think that part of it in a way kind of works. I just think that they wanted so many different genres of film in this film, and I don't think they could do it all.
They have a great twist, and they don't build towards the twist. They build towards the revenge.
A good twist should be
and I think
where you literally go, holy shit. And maybe we've seen so many that's just been dulled in our senses. I don't know.
But the thing is...
I agree and I disagree, because I think a good twist you should be able to see coming, but you don't see it until after the reveal.
That's why it's a holy shit moment, because you're kind of mad at yourself that you didn't find those breadcrumbs.
Right. And that was the problem, is that I didn't see this twist coming, and then once the twist came, I was like, oh, well, I didn't see it coming at all because it didn't have an effect on the film. There was never a moment.
Yes.
Yeah, there was never a moment when I looked back and was like, oh, right, because she's not a punching expert like her father, so that's why such and such happened. It's like I never had those moments.
I think that's literally on his resume when he was job hunting, was punching expert.
Punching expert.
Yeah.
So,
look, sir, if you hire me, I will punch the shit out of whatever you need me to punch, and I will
Mr.
do it
Smith,
every day.
I understand that you've been working as a punching. What is it? A punching?
Well, I punch back.
I see. Would you be willing to shave your beard and cut your hair for this job?
Nope.
Well, I don't think you have a career at Starbucks. Thank you.
That damn robot took my punching job, and now I'm trying to find another punching job. That's just the story. That's the story of Pennsylvania, right? It's just like the automation.
Western Pennsylvania.
It's just the automation's like ruining all the career opportunities for punching people in Pittsburgh, and Jason Momoa is just down on his luck, just trying to provide for his family by punching stuff. And I'm sorry, Jason, you can't punch today. No, I've already got too many punchers. I'm sorry, Jason.
You can't punch anymore, Jason. You can't punch anymore.
You're gonna have to use your degrees in accounting. No, I was born to punch.
My great-grandfather was a bag puncher. My grandfather was a bag puncher. My daddy was a bag puncher. I'm going to be a bag puncher.
And they all died penniless in their homes, Jason Momoa. Why won't you try? Because I have dreams, woman. I got punching dreams.
I could be the biggest bag puncher the world has ever known. I will be the Justin Bieber of bag punching.
I'd watch that movie.
I'd watch that trilogy.
I think I'd watch it if the assassin was played by Johnny Knoxville.
Sure.
And the girl who was Borat's daughter played Rachel.
Oh, and Borat played the dad.
Well,
and he's just Borat, but he's kind of a side character.
Yeah. I think if they really want to, shock us with these movies, is with cameos now, because I feel like that's the only way I can really twists. I'm gonna go but they need to have cameos. So maybe this would have been a good one for, I don't know, like Dave Bautista to show up or something like that. But other than that, it's just faceless people and Jason Momoa. I know I didn't recognize a single actor, which maybe all the budget went to Jason Momoa, but it's sort of like with The Fugitive, it's like I had Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones, and there was a couple other people, and this just, it's like, but they banked it all on Momoa, and I'm curious what the numbers are. I mean, are the numbers good? I didn't. I mean, this is the.
I don't know.
I didn't look.
Dave, are there any like local Pittsburgh heroes they could bring in, like Steely the Steel Beam, or
Steely McBean?
Yeah, or Heinz Ketchup McGill or something.
Well, what about like Heinz Ward?
There you go, Heinz Ward.
Or
Ben Roethlisberger.
Franco Harris.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that wouldn't be good.
He could have been the creepy one with Momoa.
That would have been amazing. Ben Roethlisberger being like, hey, in a towel. Like, oh no.
Hey, Jason Momoa.
Run,
you want to play some catch?
Run, Jason Momoa, run.
He just stands there and he's like, punch this. But you can't do it.
Yeah.
You can't punch this. Dun, 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 dun. Can't punch this.
Can't punch us. Should we rate this?
Yes.
This
Let's
this
rate
sweet
it.
girl.
Yeah.
Cinema Craptaculus ratings.
Okay, so we have a 3-tiered rating scale with Cinema Craptaculus. The top, this is the best, you gotta see it, is Cinema Craptaculus. The mid-tier, pretty good watch on a Sunday afternoon is Craptaculus. And then Utter Crap, and that speaks for itself. I'll happily go first. It was happily to close the chapter on this movie. One good thing I will say about it is I kind of enjoyed the fight scenes. I thought they did a good job with the fight scenes. This was utter crap.
I did not like the fight scenes.
I knew you wouldn't.
Well, especially because I've seen Jason Momoa do real fight scenes. And also, we saw that girl in the training montage, and she could move. Like, she knew how to do some stuff in the ring. She looked really good doing it. And the fight scenes were just not up to par. My guess is they didn't have a good second unit director. But regardless, it's utter crap for all the reasons we've mentioned throughout. Now, again, if this had been a movie about a guy punching bags and trying to make his way to the top of the punching bag, I would have been
Tour.
Yeah, the tour. Yeah, utter crap.
I think that would have been sort of a remake of Over the Top. It would be, speaking of Stallone, where instead of, he enters a bag punching competition and it ends with like him and his daughter's there to root for him and it's two guys punching their own bags and whoever gets it to fall off the hole,
Yeah.
whoever gets
It's
a hole
Rock'em
in it
Sock'em.
first.
It's Rock'em Sock'em Robots, the movie. I would watch that
But
movie.
they don't hit each other. They both stand next to twin bags looking at each other.
Right.
And then when the bell rings, they have to just punch it for as long as they can. Their hands are bloody.
Now I want you to. I want a fair bag punching contest.
I want no below the bag. I want no cheap shots, no rabbit punches. And then the ghosts of his ancestors are behind him, like kind of punching alongside him when his knuckles are bleeding. That would have been some acting. Well, Adam and Dave, I will not go to utter crap only because I feel like there's a little bit to be gained for, like I said, sort of watching a female protagonist, sort of, a young female protagonist kind of stand on her own, take on the man. It always seems to be, the Momoa character. And so I'll give it to them a little bit just to show. And I thought the actress did give it her all for what it was. I agree with you guys 100%. The editing was choppy to make up for the lack of, choreography and all the plot points. So I guess it would be sort of an utter crap plus.
Well, at least you didn't go Craptaculus.
Yeah.
But now I know how you felt when we were rating Thunder Force. It's just like, why are you guys liking this shit?
I wish there should be cameras on us when we review these now, and we post our expressions along with our promotional campaign for each episode. So we could just have pictures of us furrowed brows, rolling our eyes, looking at the person next to us, hands on our forehead.
Okay, let's all do our best what the fuck look. No, that's horrible. I hate that.
Can we review Over the Top now? Because now I want a reason to go back and watch Over the Top.
I think B-Sides needs to go to Over the Top.
I love that movie. Remember, he drives a Mack truck into that guy's house at the end to get back his daughter or son or whatever it was.
Okay, first of all, spoiler alert.
Oh, sorry.
Second, I don't think I've ever seen Over the Top.
I've never seen it.
And third, yes, let's do it.
Yes! You haven't seen Over the Top? Oh, Dave, you are in for a treat.
I remember the kid Mikey. The kid was Mikey from General Hospital. For people who watch General Hospital,
not from the Chex commercial.
No, different one. But
different Mikey.
Yeah.
Oh,
gosh,
Dave,
guys.
you are in for a fucking treat. Let me tell you. Well, this was a movie.
Yes, this was also a movie. Is that what you said?
Yes, I was like, yep. So this was a movie.
Well, thanks for joining us on the Cinema Craptaculus journey. This is Dave, and ever present with me are
Adam
and John.
Remember, a bad movie is just as hard to make as a good one. It's just a lot easier to make fun of.
Very easy. Very easy.
Punch in. Every day, just punch in. Trying to make my way, just punch in.
Bag!
Gonna make my way in this town. We do. We need like a Survivor-style theme song here for this.
Punch.
Because he's a survival expert.
Yeah.
Oh no, you get sort of a pseudo Eminem to sort of rip off the 8 Mile theme, and it's like, if you only had one punch at that bag, Would you take it or let that bag just sit there unpunched?
Thank you for listening to another episode of Cinema Craptaculus. If you'd like to hear all our other episodes, including our other shows like B-Sides, The Expanded Universe, and Terror Tunnel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of our new episodes. Go to Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, anywhere you listen to your podcasts. And while you're there, rate us. Give us a good review, we hope. It helps get the Craptaculus word out. And be sure to follow us on social media, at Craptaculus on Instagram and Twitter. We're also on Facebook, and you can find more content at cinemacraptaculus.com.